Africans, all of you Africans that know how to do things, that's working for other people, y'all need to open your own business. Save your money, quit paying motherfuckers for Jerry curls, quit paying motherfuckers for perms, save your money, start your own business. All these little Africans will have waiting places to work. This is our music right here. This is our music right here.
The new generation is born.
I'm gonna tell you right now, if I have to die today for this little African right here to have a future, I'm a dead motherfucker. Right. Africans that know how to do things, that's working for other people, y'all need to open your own business. Save your money, quit paying motherfuckers for Jerry curls, quit paying motherfuckers for perms, save your money, start your own business. All these little Africans will have waiting places to work. future, I'm a dead motherfucker.
Peace and love, everybody. Peace and love. How's everybody out there doing today? 17 people up in the building. That's good enough for me to get this thing started. Before we get this thing started, I'm going to say shout out to Brother Shabaka being the first one up in the building and always standing on business. Love the support. Every time you bring it my way, brother, really do, really love the support. So what we want to do, brothers and sisters, is I noticed something, this trend here, this trend on YouTube, this exciting trend on YouTube of debates and how everybody comes together and all the Hebrews that get together and start arguing about God in the Bible. But when we begin to say, hey, reversal of burden, reverse the burden of proof fallacies on us here. You know, one of the important questions that was asked yesterday is, do you have any evidence? And the gentleman said, your evidence. And I said, well, if it's impinged upon that, then there is no God because I don't believe in it. And the reason why I stopped believing in it is because I cannot lay out any evidence to prove it, which is weird. Because I hear you guys come around and you argue about Bible verses and what God said and what David said. And the minute we start asking for evidence, you guys get upset. You guys get angry. You guys want to name call, do video, slander. You name it, you guys are going to do it. So I came on yesterday and I asked the question, prove that it exists. Prove that it exists. If you can't prove that something exists, then why are you wasting your time? Certainly, if you said, hey, the priesthood existed, you would bring forth some proof of this ancient priesthood, right? Wouldn't they have artifacts? Didn't they have the Ark of God, like this cup that they carried around, like this ark? This cabinet that they carried around that supposedly housed the deity itself. Didn't they have that? How you doing? Seriously. So there's no reason to get mad when you're asked a question. You should have an answer. I listened to Hansu yesterday have a conversation with a gentleman about the existence of the deity Yahweh, and the person was asking more questions than he was, how can I say it, explaining his evidence. And then when they do give evidence, they make their God very broad. They'll say, well, God created everything. That's how we know there is a God. No, we're talking about the God of Israel. As a matter of fact, I'll even add you one deeper. I'll even take one step further. Prove that any of it exists. Because we don't have evidence of any of it. You talking about that, let me see, Africa First says what? They got mad because they cannot explain their soul for Jesus, who never existed in the first place. Fact. Well, that's the fact. That's the point. Why are you getting mad and why are you asking me questions? Do you not know how to have a conversation? Because if you guys can't prove something exists, why are you arguing all day and all night online for? What are we doing here? There's so much more that we could be accomplishing online, of all places. We could be talking about the economy, how to create some economics, how to put together some type of pyramid thing where we can how to create a library, an online library. That was one of my visions when I first came onto this. An online library where everybody can have access to the information. Right? That was my original goal. I said, I'm gonna start an online library. It's a little bit more difficult than I thought. They don't talk about William Cherry, the commandment keepers. They don't talk about that. They're making it look like as if, or acting as if it's some revelation from God. Have you ever talked to have y'all ever seen them crazy motherfuckers over there at the IUIC? They wearing all these robes and shit, calling themselves captains and lieutenants and generals and shit. Anything to catch the eye, anything to make you say, wow, right? They got a room on Clubhouse called Biblical Smoke. He arguing about niggas floating in and out of the sky. That's what they arguing about. That's tomfoolery. It's called Biblical Smoke. They be doing these Sabbath classes, and I'm just like, damn, today's the Sabbath? How are they ascertaining today is the Sabbath? Jerusalem on the other side of the world. It's nighttime over there. How y'all keeping these holidays? You don't have no evidence for any of this shit. You know, I really want to talk to that gentleman that was asking Consul all those questions when he was supposed to be on here proving that God exists. I want to know, what is it that you worship and if it's not answering you back? It answered David, Isaiah, Ezekiel. It answered all those other people back, but it doesn't answer you back. But you'll give regency and you'll give credit to the deity for nothing. I appreciate that, Kenton. You guys will sit up there and argue about this stuff all day long. Have you ever looked at the sect that you're a part of? Have you ever studied the commandment keepers and how that was formed? Have you guys ever studied that? Probably not. Because if you study the commandment keepers, you will all know that what you're studying or what you're worshiping was given to you by an African, the same people that you want to claim that you're not part of. I'm listening to a brother named Antacha this one. He's saying that now Negroes are Aztec people. Why is it that we're always trying to somebody else's what is that identity here? What are we doing? Why are we doing this? Here, I want to drop the link in the chat because I want to talk to somebody who can come on here and give me some type of verifiable evidence. If you can't do that, just show me one prophecy that Jesus fulfilled in the Old Testament. Because if you're a Christ believer, and I show you the prophecies he did not fulfill, and I explain to you it is, that means your Holy Spirit lied to you. That means it lied to you. That means it lied to you. And you can't get around that. You can't get around the fact that the Holy Spirit lied to you in the book of Matthew, chapter 2, verse 23. Chapter 1, the virgin birth, so on and so on. You're going to be hard pressed to find those prophecies, but yet you will believe it. See, I like to think that the Bible was a counterintelligence program. In other words, if we could suck them on this, we could suck them on anything. I've done too much research on this topic to let our people continue to fall into this trap. Faith walkers. Everything on faith. No evidence is needed in order to have faith. It would probably serve you well if you could prove a God does not exist. According to what I've read, no man can see nor hear God. So they can't give you that sort of evidence you seek. How can you prove something don't exist that don't exist? It's not there in the first place. See, that's that reversal, that burden of proof fallacy where, no, you got to prove that it don't exist. No, you all are the ones running around saying that a man's going to come out of the sky kill all white people, save black people, whisk them back into a magical land called Israel where don't nothing grow at. They have to have some irrigation system built in order to sustain agriculture over there, get some shit growing. No, I don't have to do that. You get on here and prove it. What are you praying to at night? What are you praying to in the morning? What are you praying to when something bad is happening? Is somebody gonna give me some proof that this thing is going to work? That this thing is going to work out for us? That this thing is going to be for the betterment of black people over here in the United States of America? You have a misplaced belief. You got Europeans telling you if you don't believe in Jesus, you're going to hell, with no evidence to prove that anybody who didn't believe in him and died went to hell. You see how treacherous that is? Y'all see how treacherous that shit is? Hey, look, the link is in the chat. Come on in. See, I know how to have an intelligent conversation concerning these things, pertaining to these things. You know, every time what the faith walker wants to do is try to reverse it and start asking you questions. Y'all heard it yesterday. We did it twice. And 2 times we didn't hear any evidence. We got a lot of feelings. We got a lot of pathos. We got a lot of that yesterday. We definitely got a lot of that. But we didn't get any proof. See, that's what we was looking for. We was looking for proof. We wasn't necessarily looking for how you felt, how you feel. You know what I'm saying? We weren't really looking for that. We wanted some proof because we want to worship it too. Don't God tell you to worship him in truth? I mean, you really look at some of the things that you all believe in, it is very pagan in nature. I keep saying this all the time. It's very pagan. You guys think that you have this end all be all to religion. The fact is, it's just you didn't know what came before this religion. Those are the facts. You necessarily didn't know other religions preceded this. You thought that this was the oldest book in the world. You read Deuteronomy 28. Somebody came up to you and said, boom, hey man, look, read Deuteronomy 28. Read it. And you began to believe that you was these people. But you never asked yourself, what's the difference between literal and figurative? And if this is literal, that means that when Moses was talking to these people, and he's telling them about a past trauma that they've already experienced called Egypt. And he said, you'll go back into Egypt by way of ships. A way of which I said you shall see it no more. Why is ships so important here? Right? Why is ships so important? Well, there will be no more miracles. See, ancient Semitic people believed in the water god, right? They believed in this water god. And this water god was very treacherous because they didn't know what was at the bottom of the ocean. They weren't swimming to those depths yet, right? They believed in leviathans being out there in those oceans and all type of silly shit. They literally believed in this thing. What's the water god's name? Moot? I think that's its name, one of its titles. So when he said you'll go back by way of ships, in other words, there won't be no miracles no more. See, they didn't come by ship the first time. Hell, they didn't even need a ship. a ship to get over there the first time. Let's see who we got in the building. We got Jay Menace in the building. What's up, Jay, man? How you doing?
Can I be heard loud and clear first off?
Yeah, I got this old person driving next to me. Like, get up off me, man. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the reason that I wanted to pop in is because, man, I ain't gonna lie, MVP, I think you'd have been proud of me, bruh. A couple of weeks ago, I was going to the grocery store getting some stuff for my mom's. And when I say, like, I got swarmed by like 5 or 6 Hebrew Israelites trying to come and give me the doctrine, and they smooth. First verse they pulled out was Deuteronomy 28, and I literally leaned on all of the teachings that you've had before and was just hitting them with talking points that they could not refute. I could see there was one light-skinned brother I was talking to. I could see the faith leaving his eyes. He was like his other boys was over there trying to answer everything, and I'm like, wait a minute, y'all. Y'all do understand that these prophecies, he's talking to these people here. Because they kept asking me, well, who are these prophecies for? And I'm like, well, they clearly not for us. He's like, look at the text. He's talking like most of these prophecies. These prophets, the people that are delivering these messages, are talking to the people in front of them. This is not for us. But the reason that I wanted to hop in is because that same scripture you were just talking about, where Moses was saying that God would bring the Israelites back to Egypt if they continue to go down the path they were going down. So I asked the Hebrew Israelite brother, I was like, okay, now brother, what Egypt would he put them back in captivity of? The one where he just drowned Pharaoh and their entire army, where he killed all the firstborn, killed all the cattle, killed all the crops? Who would be there to enslave them? A bunch of women and children? Is that what you're telling me? Dudes couldn't even answer my question.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm like, so
That's
it's like you just totally forget about the first part of the story and how they got out of captivity. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I get that point. You know what I'm saying? I definitely understand that point. Like, there's nothing there anymore. He's already destroyed it. You see what I'm saying? And like I said, you're gonna always get that burden of proof fallacy where they're gonna try and flip it and put it back on you. Like, nah, man, let's stop playing that game. We need to stop doing that. You're being asked to question. You're being asked to validate what it is that you think we should be doing as a people, right? Because I'm listening to Clubhouse. As I'm on Clubhouse listening to these the people speak, they're saying black people are in the predicament that we're in because, excuse me, I'm driving here. We're in the predicament that we're in because we don't know our history and we don't know the Bible. This is literally coming out their mouths.
Yes.
This is literally coming out their mouths. And not one time that they even mentioned slavery. They didn't mention the fact that we were destabilized, right? Redlining, etc. More every time you look around. And they keep talking about this book. And I'm like, where is the deity at?
Yep.
Where is the deity defending his people, his chosen people? You mean to tell me we went through 400 years of slavery over here, Jim Crow, civil rights, you name it, Reconstruction, you name it, and he still hasn't done nothing. You know, I was looking at this anime. It was this anime show, and it's about these ninja firefighters. I can't remember what it was called, right?
I think you're talking about Fire Force. I think that's the name.
Fire Force, yeah. I'm looking at Fire Force, right? And as I'm looking at this, they do the backstories on how everything came to be. And in one of the instances that happened on there was a priestess, and they would be praying to the fire god, right? Or praying to the god that it does it, because it's about spontaneous combustion, right? I know you've seen it before, right?
Yes,
and
sir.
she was in the temple praying, because she's this high priestess. She's just praying and praying and praying. And then all of a sudden, all of her sisters spontaneously combust while she's in there praying. And she's the number one. She is number one. She is number one, right? She's number one, right? And you know what she does? She sees her sisters are on fire. She's traumatized for a moment. And as she's holding this holy book, she throws the book down She just puts it down.
Yep.
She just stopped believing it right there, right? Because she just saw the only evidence that happened, the only thing to prove that that deity that she was praying to existed. The only thing that could validate it, it failed at that moment to protect her sisters. It did nothing.
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
And
sir.
she just put it down. Then she ends up becoming this very powerful priest, this very powerful, warrior in the show, and it's definitely a must watch. And if you guys see it, it was really about, well, the best power you have is yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because she would always look within herself. You know what I'm saying? And then you have examples of us today. You know, you look at what we've been through as a people, or what we go through today, and if you're sitting up there saying to me, right? If you're sitting up there saying to me that God has cursed us, that's why we're like this, it means A, you're lazy, and B, you have let your enemy off the hook.
Yes, sir.
You've let your oppressor off the hook. Because he can say, hey, I didn't do it, God did it.
Yep.
We got Dueling After Dark on the phone. What's going on? I said on the phone, on the panel. What's going on with you, bro?
Hey, on the phone, on the panel, master teacher in the building. What it do, baby? All the way from Texas, man. What's poppin'?
What's going on, man? What's going on, man?
Yeah, man. I'm good, man. Another day.
I just wanted to go live. I just wanted to go live and see if I... No doubt. No doubt. So we got O'Neal Marston. He says God is energy. He said God is energy. Okay. All right, so God is energy. So that means I could turn God off and on as I feel fit, right? God is not an energy.
Yeah, that's
I'm
wild.
energy.
That's wild.
If I could literally flip a switch, if I could literally grab God and put it in a can or put him in a cell called a battery, that means he can't be energy. Because I can turn God off and on as I see fit.
Yeah, unless they saying God is like potential energy, like he's energy stored that's waiting on something else to use him.
Because he has to validate that he's something first, or she is something. Hans Jello, I don't know what he said. I am the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. I have arrived. Sure, bro. Sure. Steve the Theorist says energy cannot be created or destroyed by definition, so God ain't energy. It can. Because we can contain energy. We can manipulate energy. You see what I'm saying? See, the only thing that really matters in this realm is matter. You see what I'm saying? Are we like, is God matter? Is he matter? Can we touch it? Can we feel it? Can we see it? No, it's none of that. God is an auditory hallucination that lives in your mind, that you believe exists because you were told this. It's simple. To say God is an energy is foolishness. And it's just a way that we try to philosophize God to make it work for us.
Now, here's my question, MVP. I don't know if you addressed this already because I did come in a little later. Now, kind of going back to that Deuteronomy 28 thing. Why is it that the Hebrew Israelites of today, or the so-called Hebrew Israelites of today, love to superimpose themselves and make everything about them? Because the dudes I was talking to was swearing up and down that prophecy was about us being taken on slave ships and being brought here. These dudes were swearing up and down, no, America is Egypt today, bro. You're not really reading the text. You don't understand what you're talking about. I'm like, fam, you have got to be joking me. Because at that point, we could just say anything is anything just to fit the narrative you're trying to do, bro. Like, have you run into that as well? Or is it just me down here in Texas? Because it's ridiculous, bro.
I was at IHOP, right? I was at IHOP one day, and I saw some brothers over there wearing them little purple little garments, just wearing them. And I was just like, I looked over at them, nodded like, you what up, man? A ghetto smile, like what up, man? Like that. They was just all like, yeah, man, I know you, man. You be online. We done heard you before. Well, we like to offer you something. I said, you sure you heard me? You know what I'm saying? You sure you've heard me? Yeah. You don't really like the Bible. But what if we show you some things in here that you can't refute? And I says, nah, man, I'll pass. I don't need the book anymore. Right? And I just kept saying, I kept asking them about what's different from this faith than any other faith. And they kept saying slavery. I'm like, then that ain't no faith I want to be part of. If all you can do is remind me that I'm a slave. And I remember I just looked at them and they were friendly with it. They said, all right, man, we can make you an officer. I said, oh my God, an officer. So they weren't really caring about the faith. They were looking for an electric speaker. Somebody who knows the book. You know what I'm saying? Who's going to follow their doctrine. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is, man. It's nothing more.
That's what they did to me. They trying to offer me positions like, oh, well, brother, we would love to have you come speak and we could have like a live debate. And I'm like, bro, for what? Because I'm going to ask y'all the same questions I asked you today and you still not going to answer them. We just going to be talking in circles. Like, what would be the point of that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're never going to get an answer. And, Black Jesus Minister was over there talking about he got evidence of Noah's Ark. And I was up on Clubhouse and I'm just all like, yo, this is getting ridiculous here. You know what I'm saying? And when I hear that type of stuff, I get a little sad now. You know what I'm saying? I'm just all like, yo, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? What are you doing? What are you doing to the point that you're telling people Noah's Ark existed? You know what I'm saying? And this is why I always go with the equivalency argument. Well, wait a minute. What about the Gilgamesh? Does that exist? It contains the same mythological elements. Why does Noah's Ark exist and not the Epic of Gilgamesh, right? Why is that fake? You got regencies, you got gods talking, visions, boats being built, angry and upset gods. All this wild shit. But I can never get any transparency with it.
Exactly. We're never going to address that because, nah, brother, now all of a sudden we the one moving the goalposts. When we asking a perfectly tangible, logical question that involves actual human history that is here. Like, it's physical. We're not saying it because it's our opinion. We're saying it because it's been dated. It's older. Not to mention that exact same story has been told in cultures across the world. It's not like you doing anything original. Not the only one with it. You know what I mean? It's just denying reality to make a point. Being just straight up illogical. That's where we get to with these people. And it's like, I agree with you. It has gotten to the point where it's extremely sad because when we get to the point as a community where something like this can easily divide us and you can almost see that people are choosing to be blind to the perfectly clear argumentation that's being presented. It's like, yeah, you're brainwashed. You don't even understand that you're in a cult. Like praying and everybody holding hands and stuff. Like if somebody walked in and seen everybody doing the exact same thing that you did in a Baptist church, except everybody had on black robes and hoods, you wouldn't even question it. You'd be like, nope, that's a cult. If you walked in and you seen everybody eating stale crackers and drinking grape juice with black hoods on and some candles, like, oh, now it's witchcraft. But because y'all doing it, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't understand that.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I fell off briefly here.
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. I fell off here. The minute I leave out the house this morning, today, it starts pouring down raining and I can't see where I'm going. So I'm just gonna pull over and park here. But there's a gentleman in the audience and He's giving me his philosophy. Would you like to come on board and please prove what you're saying so we can have a scientific discussion? You said God moves everything. No, he does not. And I'll prove it to you. When you say God moves everything, what is the process of that? Is he spinning it around on his finger, spinning the earth around on his finger like the Harlem Globetrotters? How is he doing this?
Excellent question. That's exactly what I would ask. Because if we're just going off of that logic, how does he do it? When or how does he decide what moves and what doesn't? You know, how do things come to pass? Some things don't. Why are some things easily recreatable and some things aren't? I would love to know.
Right. We have satellites in the sky now, but we don't see anything above the domain of the earth sitting on a throne anywhere. We don't see it. So what I'm asking for is some proof or evidence. You mean to tell me all the Christians and all the Hebrews, they come together, they argue over the Bible, but then when somebody such as myself says, okay, listen, come forth and provide your evidence, all of a sudden, you guys are nowhere to be seen. You guys are rude, you guys are arrogant, you guys fight, you guys slander people. But now when it comes time for you all to prove these things, you can't prove it. Hey, I just want to know, how does God do it? Is he doing it with his mind? You mean to tell me that God came into the earth in the form of a carpenter, a lowly sheep goat herder, and created this entire galaxy? That man, Jesus. The very thought of it sounds silly.
Now, you know what I noticed, MVP? It seems
the
like...
The very thought of that sounds silly.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Now, I just wanted to say, have you ever noticed that, like, when you have a lesson prepared or something that you want to go into specifically, when it deals with the topic of religion, you will have people almost like fish in a barrel trying to jump back out and get up here and try to disprove you. But when you literally put in the title, hey, look, we having an open panel. I want anybody to come up here and discuss. Seem like you can't get them to show up. And that's so weird to me. It's like when you're not focused on a specific topic and you're not trying to talk about it, they hear beating down the door to get in. That's so weird, man.
I got something I want to add to the topic.
Confusing sometimes. Sure.
What I find interesting is the thought process of coming into some sort of idea of understanding, of knowing that there's something that is very dangerous, having the ability to do anything it wants to you, control everything, and you be okay with it. It's literally like having Stockholm syndrome with lions in the jungle. When did it become okay to be like this? And if this is the thing, then why won't people just move to the safari and stay with the lions? Because it's the same thing, in my opinion. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah, I understand. Go ahead.
It's like, in the jungle, the lion has to feed. The lion is a part of, there's some lions a part of a coalition, but lions, male lions, female lions, they hunt and they kill. So you literally talking about something that has the ability to take control, kill, put you in a place, a bad disposition, and for some odd reason, you fine with that. But you use everything that has been modernized to your advantage, and not leave it in the hands of the same thing that has the ability to change everything for you. I don't understand. It's hypocritical to me.
MVP, did you want to go or?
No, you could go ahead. You could go ahead. I was in the store for a minute here.
Yeah, see, look, I agree with Dueling After Dark, uh, especially from the perspective of according to the biblical text, because I'm never trying to say anything that I don't want anybody to get the impression is coming out of my mouth. When I'm talking about according to the biblical text. We are talking about a God that is omnipotent, that is capable of doing all things, seeing all things. Our lives are ordained. Nothing that's happening right now is not supposed to happen according to the biblical text. So my thing would be, there's no profound orator out there that God has put the message on them to come and deliver us from our heathen ways. There's nothing that can be said. There's nothing going towards MVP's point. There's no proof. There's nothing. Doesn't mean God is all knowing, all powerful, all knowledgeable. He can't give anybody a simple kernel of truth to just come on the panel and introduce to us, because that could change everything. You would be doing some Nobel Prize level stuff right here today. Somebody out there can answer the call. I mean, it's not. It shouldn't be that hard. I wouldn't think.
Just to add on to what you're saying, me also saying that it's hypocritical. The Bible tells you that you have to trust in the Lord with all thy heart and lean not into your own understanding. So for all of those who are believers, you are not allowed to understand anything. You do what the Bible tells you to do because the Bible says so. So as
Yep.
soon as you come up with a matter of opinion, you already then failed yourself, and you're doing some sort of iniquity or blasphemy because the Bible doesn't allow you to do that.
Yep.
And if you detest that idea, you already lost.
So we
Agreed.
have Aaron the prophet from Israel on here. Aaron the prophet from Israel. He's speaking in defense of Christ. Now, Aaron, I will tell these two gentlemen to go in the back chat, and
Hmm.
me and you can have a conversation about the evidence that you're going to provide to prove that Christ or God exists. Do you want to do that? Respectfully, of course.
Oh yeah, that
What
is
evidence do
absolutely.
you have?
That is no problem on my end. I will sit back and I'm talking about with bated breath, wait for you to come on and explain it to us. I will sit here like that student in the front of the class with the apple ready for you. Teach. Come on, show me.
Said that it's blasphemy. Come and explain to us what blasphemy is. And this is why I say, you guys say all these things, and you're only taught this by your European counterparts. I'm not a Christian, therefore it cannot be blasphemy. You get it? Though that is a set of regulations and ethics for Christians, not me.
Sir.
Jesus clearly tells you in the Bible, if you believe me not, I judge you not. That's what he said. For I did not come to judge. So who was the one going around saying that if you don't believe in Christ, you're going to hell? It was Paul. It was Paul.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It was only Paul saying that. Jesus never said if you don't believe that I existed. What were you supposed to believe in with him anyway? You're supposed to believe in the words and the things that he was teaching. That's it. Nothing more. Noah says, I have to believe he existed in order to go into a magical place after I leave this earth. Who's left this earth and can validate this stuff?
Yes, sir.
You got a story about God coming in and out of heaven and mountains on fire and a talking donkey. I just want some proof. That's all, man. That's all I'm asking here. Amanda, the burden of proof is on the atheist to prove that God does not exist. What is your evidence of this, Chris MVP Harris? There's no evidence. So if I go to court and I say this doesn't exist, it doesn't exist because there's no evidence to validate that it exists. The burden of proof is on you to prove that it does exist. And this is where you guys get very afraid at. You guys are standing on this presumption or this presupposition, excuse me, that this thing in this book exists without any proof.
Well, wait a minute. That's counterintuitive to this whole religion. They're asking for proof, and the entire religion in and of itself, to its core, fundamentally is about belief in faith. That doesn't make any sense.
Hebrews chapter 11 and 1 clearly tells you faith is the evidence of something not seen. So the writer is trying to convince the readers of this text that faith is evidence, but you can't see it. So God gives you a that in order for him to love you and in order for you to please him, you have to have faith.
Yep.
How fair is that?
But wait a minute. Chris, if Hebrews is telling you that you do not need evidence, or you shouldn't, or the faith is without evidence, then technically they will be doing their job correctly then, right?
There is no job that needs to be done because the writer didn't know what he was talking about, to tell the truth. Yes, they're doing their job. The writer doesn't even understand what he's saying, probably because it's an Iron Age people.
No, I'm saying mission accomplished. I'm going to get on here and I'm going to tell you it exists. Yeah. And I don't need anything to prove it exists because the Bible tells me I don't need to prove it exists because that's what it says. So they're doing their job. Mission complete.
Let me piggyback off of that, because let's talk about another contradiction. If that's the case, then why in the Torah is there an established need for a law of two witnesses?
Probably for extras probably for extras to validate that they don't need it for it to exist.
Why do you need evidence to convict somebody of wrongdoing, but you don't need evidence for God? Sorry,
it's a contradiction. Yep, poor ethics. Yeah, so Amanda, the link is in the chat, and you're saying is, what is your evidence that that God doesn't exist? Okay, what is tangible? What is tangible here, Amanda? And where's the evidence that he does, or it does? You guys, it speaks on regencies. It speaks on, things like angels, such as regencies. It speaks on arcs, dying and resurrecting. All of these things are common in other religions. How is this one the truth of all truths? That's what we're asking here. You've made an assertion and you said that it exists without any evidence. Listen, I will tell these two gentlemen to go in the back chat and you can come up here and you can please have the conversation. See, this is why I always say that the Christians, they'll point that finger in the heartbeat. They'll play the martyr in the heartbeat, but when it comes time for them to have a conversation about something as critical as this, they can't do it.
Yes, sir.
It's simple. Everything that you say about your deity, I will debunk him scientifically.
Also, MVP, just and this is more of like a scientific question. Especially for all my more like science background people out there. What is the methodology of going about proving that something doesn't exist?
There is no methodology because it's a very it'll be a very informal process.
Exactly. Thank you. That's all I wanted. No further questions, Your Honor.
It'll be very informal. Like how do you how do I don't have anything tangible to put on a scale. I don't have anything tangible. I don't have anything, and you're telling me to prove it. There's nothing in front of me. There's nothing in front of me to observe. Therefore, it don't exist. It's an
That may
auditory
be,
hallucination, an imaginary friend living in your mind.
yeah, that may be literally the most oxymoronic question I've seen somebody pose. That's craziness. I'm sorry, Amanda. I don't mean any disrespect, but that's come on. Like you even got to ask yourself that. If say the roles were reversed, how would you go about proving something doesn't exist? What is the methodology behind that?
There is no methodology. She can say that till she's blue in the face.
Man, and see, this is where it
Let me
starts getting
see.
sad.
Juan said, Chris, do you think Alexander the Great existed? That's a loaded question. Oh, let me see who's here. Okay, Ron Perkins is here. Let's bring him in. What's up, Ron? How you doing?
Hey guys, how you guys doing today?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Are you a Christian or a Hebrew Israelite?
No, I'm actually neither of those, but I do subscribe to that there must be a creative force in the universe. Some people call it God, some people call it whatever they. I mean, it goes by different names, but I subscribe to the fact that there must be a creative force simply through inference. Is that?
Okay, so let's pause for 1 second. Let's pause for 1 second.
Mhm.
Dueling After Dark and Jay, can you guys step down for 1 second? Can you guys step down for 1 second? Go in the back
Sure,
chat for 1 second.
Yes,
sure.
sir, man.
Okay, thank
Yep,
you.
it's going down.
Yep, because I don't never want to make it look like I'm jumping anyone. I don't do that. We don't do that
No,
over here.
that's
All
okay,
right,
but I
so
appreciate it.
you're you're saying that you attribute a divine agency to what?
Yeah. So if you look at the universe, even from a scientific perspective, there's something that scientists call the Big Bang theory, right? And I actually subscribe to the Big Bang theory, meaning that the universe is expanding. I mean, that's a scientific fact. So if you rewind it all the way to the beginning, there had to have been some type of time zero, right? So the question becomes, what caused the Big Bang? What caused it?
Well, before we get into the Big Bang, let me ask you a question. How do you prove that this divine agency that you say exists? What evidence are you having? What evidence are you bringing forth to say that it exists? Because this could be a God of the gaps fallacy here, where if there's something you don't understand, you could just say, see, it has to be a God. Just
Yeah,
because we don't
that's a
understand
good
something
question.
scientifically just because we don't understand something scientifically doesn't mean that we have to insert God like a Nintendo cartridge. You get what I'm saying?
I do,
That's
and
fallacious in
that's a good
itself.
point. Yeah, that's a good point. So again, from my perspective, it's inferential, right? So if you look at processes in nature, processes are developed from a starting point, right? They don't just pop in. They don't just
Okay.
pop into thin air. They come from typically human processes come from our minds, right? If an assembly line was developed for making automobiles, it had to come from the mind of somebody, right? From the engineers or whoever
Yeah, George
the
Washington Carver. Yes,
yeah, exactly
George
right. This
Washington
is
Carver.
extremely good point. So using that as inferential idea, as an inferential idea, then I would take that to the universe as well. The universe is a ever expanding, growing, developing process which had a beginning from a scientific point of view. So so you would naturally infer that there had to have been something or someone, I prefer to say something, that started that process. But does that make
So
sense?
you're a creationist. So you're a
No, I'm not a
creationist.
creationist. No, I believe in universal consciousness. That's
Universal
foundational.
consciousness.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
foundational.
okay. So universal consciousness. Can you explain that to everybody? I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that.
Yes, it
See,
starts
I'm
with the
also honest.
premise.
I've never heard of universal consciousness.
Yeah, it starts with the premise. It starts with the premise that consciousness is foundational, and that everything that we know in the universe came from the consciousness, came from universal consciousness. And so what you see
So
as
the universe can,
reality.
are you saying that the universe, no, here, one second. Are you saying that the universe can think?
No, I'm just saying that it's conscious. Thinking is something that may
Conscious of
be,
what? Conscious of its own existence?
yes, it's conscious of its own existence. That's a good way
Okay,
to.
so if something is conscious of its own existence, that means it can think, right?
It could be. I mean, I haven't thought about it that on that level. I've only thought about it to the point that that the consciousness. It makes sense that it's conscious because if I look at this material world, things that are conscious tend to create things. So does that make
Okay.
sense?
Just like, but you said consciousness, right?
Yes.
And you're talking, and since you're talking about a universal consciousness, you're talking about a divine agency.
Yeah.
So I
I guess
can't
you.
acquiesce. I'm not going to acquiesce.
No, no.
I can't acquiesce science. I can't acquiesce science just to sit up here and say, okay, does a plant have a consciousness? Does an ant have a consciousness? Therefore, anything with a consciousness can create, right? Okay, cool. But you're telling me that the universe has a consciousness when we have planets in our very galaxy that doesn't even have any life on it. Where's the
Hmm.
consciousness there? Did the universe just decide, hey, we're just gonna put consciousness on Earth?
Yeah. One way of
Because
looking at
that
it
would
would
mean
be.
scientifically, but it would mean scientifically that we met the right conditions on this planet in order to develop life through single cell organisms.
Yeah, I understand, but if you take it out of the macro, talking about humans and planets and stars and things like that, and take it to the micro, looking at things on the quantum level. On the quantum level, the question is, does uh, a quantum particle, does it have consciousness? If the answer is yes, then that means that planets also have consciousness, right? Because at the end of the day, everything's made out of quantum material, right? And that's an if. I'm saying
So
if that's the
what are
case.
you saying? What are you Yeah, because you keep saying if that's a God of the gap. This same consciousness, you're giving divine agency to. It's still God, no matter how you try to word it. It's still God, and you don't have any proof or evidence to say that. Like when we talk about consciousness, that's why I asked you a key question. There are other planets that orbit in this galaxy that don't even
Hmm.
have life on them. Do those planets have a consciousness? Because if that's so, now your
Yeah.
entire point can be somewhat fallacious. So let me explain to you
No.
why.
Yeah. Yeah. Go
if
ahead.
you're saying that the universe if you're saying that the universe has a consciousness to it, that's divine regency. There are planets on it that don't even have life. Is there consciousness on those planets?
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I just said though that even at on the quantum level, on the quantum level, that that could also be that could also have consciousness as well. It doesn't have to be life as we know it, right? I mean, if you agree with me, then
Okay.
the things that make you up at the quantum level are just as conscious as you are, right? It doesn't matter if it's we're all made out of molecules and atoms and quantum matter, quantum material.
Yes, but why is that? Why is that a god?
No, I'm
Because you
not
said you have to
using the
use
word. I'm
inference,
not.
but there is
Yeah,
such
yeah.
thing. There's
Go ahead.
listen. There's a such thing like there's a such thing as false inferences,
Hmm.
right? You know what a false inference is, right? Something like a presupposition, right?
Yes. Hmm.
Right. You're presuming something exists because A has a consciousness, right?
Hmm.
So you're saying you have to give that to a divine regency. You can call it whatever you want, Yahweh, a universal consciousness, Ra, Ray, whatever. It's still a divine, it's still a divine agency. Excuse me, I've been saying regency. It's still a form of divine agency, no matter how you look at it. And if you're saying that, many different philosophies can be developed from that, but you don't have any evidence that you're bringing forth. You're saying because A, humans have consciousness, therefore B, there is a divine consciousness that exists outside of our own.
That's not
Well, we
exactly
can
what I'm
prove
saying, though.
that okay, go ahead.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that processes develop from consciousness. You asked me. You were asking earlier about proof. I'm saying that you cannot prove it directly using the scientific method unless you use some type of inferential proof. So there are all sorts of inferences in the world
Inferential
about
proof.
how processes are developed. Processes are developed through
Okay.
consciousness. And so
Okay.
if you look at the
What type
universe
of
as being,
processes are these? Are hey Ron, 1 second. What type of
yes,
processes are these? Are they informal processes or formal processes?
they're actually
To prove your
formal
point.
processes.
Is
They're
it an
like they're
informal process or a formal process?
yeah, they're formal processes. Like, for instance, we look at the process of take an example of the expanding universe. It's expanding. Space time is expanding through a formal process, which scientists we call the Big Bang. Scientists who look at this stuff call the Big Bang. It's a formal process. So
Okay,
so
so this
then
formal process, how does this formal process prove a divine consciousness exists? You know,
so
I understand what you're saying, but I'm
yes.
trying to get down to this divine consciousness that you're speaking of here. How do
Well,
you prove that exists? Because your
well,
inferences would have to be informal because you don't have anything tangible to say, okay, because A exists, therefore B exists. That's called a slippery slope.
yeah. No, but what I'm saying though is that if it's true that A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, all the way through the alphabet, if all of those are true, then the thing that I cannot prove to be true, but look like those other things, then it must make sense, right? For that thing to be equally true, just like those, like A through Z. Doesn't that make sense to you?
No, sir.
That
No,
doesn't make
sir.
sense to you.
No,
Why?
sir. Until you can prove, no, sir. It does. I'm not the one. You can't ask me any questions. You have to prove that this exists. You're giving
No,
me a
here,
very
here,
informal method here, right?
no,
It
but
doesn't work like that. You're giving me
yeah.
a very informal
Well, let me
method.
ask.
You don't
Let,
have
let me ask you.
anything
Yeah.
tangible. to
let me ask you.
prove
Let me
that a
ask you.
divine agency called the universal
Yeah.
and I know it sounds like, hold on, just listen for 1 second. I
Hmm.
know it may sound like um, that it's an argument from silence. It's really not. All right, because we have a scientific method that we use in order to prove science correct. How
Hmm.
do we prove the universal consciousness correct? Right?
Yeah.
You said there is a universal consciousness. Are you talking about, when you say universe, that's pertaining to everything around us in this galaxy? Am I correct?
Yeah. The galaxy and beyond. Right. Sure.
Galaxies and beyond, but we have planets with no life on them. And
Hmm.
scientifically, we can prove how life started on Earth. As a matter of fact, because of the Earth's distance from the sun, the conditions were just right for life to flourish on this planet. So it's by chance based on the conditions. But when I ask you to prove formally that a divine consciousness exists, and that's just one of the examples, you're having a hard time doing that because I need something tangible in front of me. You said
Yeah.
consciousness. Can it
Yeah.
speak? How does it think? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I do.
There are things, what behavior patterns exist
Yeah.
within this
You're.
divine consciousness. You understand?
Yeah. I do. And you're actually asking very good questions. You're asking the right questions. How does science prove these things? So, I'm not a scientist per se, but
Me neither.
there are scientists who are trying to prove this. Have you heard of Donald Hoffman? Have you ever listened to or read any of his work?
No.
He's a neuroscientist, and he's actually working on uh, proving or trying to prove, let's say, the existence of this universal consciousness scientifically through mathematics. And I would suggest that he has a lot of material out there that's really free. It's free for everybody to take a look at. It's free for everybody to look at on YouTube. He has papers written about this. And fundamentally, he says that's actually space time is limited, is doomed, and that space time actually comes from this consciousness. And because he's a scientist, he takes the approach that you're taking. He's saying that this has to be proven. Otherwise, it's just speculation or just philosophical discussion. Basically, everybody
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I think the universal consciousness got him. Don't know what happened. I think that universal consciousness got him. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Press 1 if you can hear me. I think something happened here. Okay, everybody can hear me. Seems like oh, I was breaking up. Damn. Okay. Damn, I was breaking up.
Hello, Chris. And somehow we got cut off. Can you hear me?
I'm here, brother. Go ahead, go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah. I was saying that perhaps when you have some opportunity, take a look at some of the work by Donald Hoffman. Again, this neuroscientist is really working hard to try to prove this through scientific methods and obviously through mathematics at this point in time about this universal consciousness, to take it out of the realm of just speculation and philosophy, and make it more of a discussion where when people like yourself ask for proof, then there can be some type of proof. As I mentioned before, and maybe got cut off before I could make this point, his fundamental statement is that it's kind of similar to mine, is that consciousness is fundamental, and that space time, or what we call reality, comes out of that consciousness. So it's not just a bunch of people talking about philosophy. They're actually scientists working on this.
Okay, okay. So I guess all in all is what you're saying is that you just really can't prove it, but you're going to use inference to prove it. Which essentially, I hate to keep saying this, it's a God of the gaps fallacy. You know what I'm saying? Because these type of philosophies, it begins to go into, well, if you can say a universal God exists, well, Semites can sit up there and say that Yahweh exists, and they can say He is the universal God. And when we're asking him for proof or them for proof of it, they'll be saying the same things as you, symbolically,
Yeah,
allegorically. They'll be saying the same things.
but I think there's a basic difference. I understand what you're saying, but there's a fundamental difference, and the fundamental difference would be that when people talk about Yahweh, or they talk about Zeus or their local gods, that's on a local level. What I'm trying to say is that
That's
this
true.
this consciousness is not necessarily local; it's universal. So Yahweh doesn't
Yes, but
pertain
when I
to
ask
to
you
to,
about this
to Chinese.
consciousness, like, let me ask you. Okay, so let me ask you a question. What is the definition of consciousness?
Yeah, consciousness would be um, that that thing that we have that makes us aware of ourselves, aware of what
Yeah.
colors look like, how things taste.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
abstract in nature.
Okay, cool. Are we attributing these same type of behavioral patterns to the universal consciousness?
Yes, in a sense, and now I have to defer. I
In
have
a
to defer
sense?
to. I have to defer to what Hoffman says, because I think he's onto something. He
Oh,
says
geez, that's
that.
convenient. That's
Well,
convenient.
we all defer to something, right? Right? So so I
Okay.
defer
All
I
right.
defer to what he's saying. Again, as I mentioned, I think that he's onto something here. Um, his idea, his theories are that this universal consciousness, it projects it projects into this reality. And so he used the example of a of a what do you call these things? Is virtual reality headsets. When you play a virtual reality game, you see all of these. Like if you're racing a car, as an example, this is one of his examples. You're racing a car, and you really believe that you're racing the car, and you see that as reality. But actually, the reality is behind that. It's in the software. It's in the programming. It's in the hardware and software, the things that's actually running that program, which you as a user of the game will never see. So using that example, the the consciousness is the thing that's behind all of this thing, all the stuff that we're doing, all of this. But we can never truly get to that uh, to that ultimate consciousness, but we have interface with its projection on a day-to-day basis. And so, but it doesn't negate the
Um,
fact. It doesn't negate the fact that this consciousness actually created everything. That is projecting all of this reality as we see it.
okay. Okay. Well, you know what, brother? Um, it's a little hard to digest, because when you start talking about things like consciousness, universal law, excuse me, not universal law, but universal consciousness, this
Sure.
is how you prove divine agency or regency.
Hmm.
Many ancient cultures use these
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
fundamentals,
I agree.
to try to prove a divine agency. And they even named it. They even said that Ra was the
Hmm.
giver of the sun, right? Newt, God of the sky. You give
Sure.
it divine agency, and
Sure.
you give it characteristics. They start giving the God characteristics.
Hmm.
But when it comes down to it, when the people begin to offer to it and pray to it and speak to it, they'll tell you that it's talking back to them.
Yeah.
Consciously, they're telling you that this is real. Consciously, your name is Ron, and you're telling me that this theory of universal consciousness is real, but there's no tangible way that we can prove it. It seems a bit convenient that we try to find certain authors that validate our beliefs, our philosophies, and also our responses. You understand?
That's
And
not
you
that's not
seem,
convenient. That's normal, right? I mean, we all do
well,
that.
if I could
Hmm.
finish,
Hmm.
okay. Um, and we even try to get some to validate our responses for us. As you said, you'll defer. Well, where's the universal consciousness speaking to you, saying, "No, I exist. Here, I want to prove it to you." This is man conceiving things that he doesn't understand. That's all the universal consciousness is. You're just trying to conceive things that you may not understand as a man. That's it. Nothing more.
Yeah, but isn't that the same thing you're doing in practice too, when in principle? In
No.
other words, there probably was a time when you weren't. I'm assuming you're an atheist, right? I I presume
Yes.
there was a time when you were not an atheist, right?
Yes.
So how did you become an atheist? It's just one day you woke up and said, "Oh, I'm an atheist," or was it through a process of reading and learning and listening to other people, reading other people's works that eventually convinced you of the rightness of atheism? Hello,
Give me one second,
hello.
brother.
Did you did you hear
One
my
second. One
question?
second.
Okay,
Yes, Ron. Give me 1 second. Okay. Okay.
no problem.
Okay. Man, they crazy. These people want $18 for 4 pieces of chicken. Y'all are out your damn mind. Y'all are
must be
out your mind.
must be must have pieces of gold in it or something, golden flour or something like that.
Y'all are out of your minds.
Maybe it's the breasts though. Maybe it's four breasts or something.
Okay. So
Yeah, yeah,
many
yeah.
times when you
So
guys, when believers or faith walkers come on these panels, you guys get to asking questions, right? If you ask me personally, and I'm just going to be honest with you here, your universal consciousness is just a way, and this is not just, I don't want to
I don't want to put this off on you, but when I hear
That's
these
okay.
type of philosophies and these types of when I hear these type of hypotheses, it's just a way that you guys can stay believing in the God of the Bible, and you guys try to hide behind. I think you guys try to hide behind these type of philosophies in order to validate your belief, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
Once again, these concepts, like you're asking me
well,
about atheism, right? I'm an
yes.
atheist because I have no tangible evidence of any of the things that you are saying. I have no tangible evidence of any of the things that the text is saying that's true. You understand what I'm saying? Or any
Hmm.
other religious text. You understand? When I
Hmm.
look at God and somebody asks me, what is God? I say my mother and father. And according to the definition, I can say that because there's something that I give a allegiance to. It's something that I also, they birthed me, they created me, they gave me a divine law. It's many different examples that I use to prove that they are God. And then one of the things I say is God is man because man sees God as he sees himself. This is why anytime you read about God, you see God in any of these religious texts, he always has the attributes of a man. You understand what I'm saying? He gets
I
mad, he
do.
gets angry, he's happy, he's pleased, he has a consciousness.
Yeah. But what you're doing again is what I talked about before. You're talking about a localized God. If you were to say that your mother and father were God on a local
Well, this
level,
localized
and
deity, hold on,
and
1 second. Hold on, that's cool. Okay, let me answer that real quick, okay, if you don't mind. This localized God, they tried to give it universal agency. They tried to sit up there that Paul begins to write and say he's the God of the whole world.
mhm. Yeah, I understand perhaps some of the problems that you have with parochial gods. I understand some of those problems. That's why when as you and I are talking, I'm not talking specifically about those religions. I asked you a question, or you made a statement to me first about me finding a particular scientist or group of scientists who happen to maybe believe in the things that I believe in, and that it was convenient. And I said that that's normal, and that you probably did the same thing because at once upon a time you weren't you weren't an atheist, and I think that you said yeah you weren't an atheist. So there had to have been a process for you to get to where you are now. And so
Yes, I
from
had
from
no tangible evidence to believe anymore any of those things that were told to me. And
yeah, but
you're
what I'm saying is that
telling
you were
me the same thing that those localized religions taught, and you're trying to make it this scientific phenomenon. That's what
no,
you're
I'm not
trying to
trying to
do.
make it
This
that.
is why
I'm
you
saying
aggrandize a
scientists.
lot of the words.
I'm saying scientists are doing that. I'm not saying that I'm doing that. I'm saying that that's what some scientists are doing. And the reason those scientists are doing it is because of people like yourself who need that type of of scientific methodology, rigorousness to be convinced of the situation. In other words, if science could prove it, I don't think science could ever get to the ultimate understanding of this consciousness. I don't think they could ever do that. But let's say if they could start proving bits and pieces of it, then you would change your mind, wouldn't you? Because it's science.
If they
Because
came
because then it would be in
forth,
the realm.
if they came forth, I'm gonna let you talk. So when you get finished talking, let me know.
Because in the realm of science, you see science as reigning supreme, right? And so if science could somehow cull out this notion of this consciousness, then you would be a firm believer, right?
Give me 1 second, brother. I'm making a whistle card here, purchase here.
Hmm.
Okay. One more time, you're offering me slippery slopes. Um, and you're saying
No, it's not. It's not a
it says
slippery slope. It's not a slippery slope. It's a yes or no.
no, I wouldn't believe it because because scientifically it wouldn't make any sense. Science is very formal. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not informal. You're still being very informal.
No, no,
You're
no.
being very informal with your presentation.
No, I'm saying if scientists who know, who somebody like Hoffman, who's a neuroscientist working with physicists and quantum physicists as well as mathematicians, as they cull out this whole notion of scientific notion of consciousness, they've already said that consciousness is fundamental, and that the space time is
What
doomed, that
formal?
it's limited.
That's fine. What form? See, but I hear
They're
you
saying,
telling me all this. But what formal processes do they use to tell everybody that this universal consciousness is real? What's the formal process? What scientific journal or paper can I read that
yeah,
in which they proved it? Because we're
yeah. If
asking for
you
proof,
yeah,
and I
if you look
still
on
haven't
if you
heard any proof. I heard a lot of
yeah
rhetoric. I heard a
yeah if
lot
you
of
look
rhetoric
online,
from you, but I haven't heard any
yeah.
proof.
Well, I mean, this is sort of an informal build, right, between us. But if you look online and
No,
look up the
I'm
no, no,
asking for
I'm looking
evidence.
no,
Evidence.
I'm looking I'm
Hold
getting
on.
ready to tell you now.
No, listen. Check it out. That's fine. You can still tell me, but when you said that this is a very informal bill, no, I want this to be more formal.
Yeah,
Evidence will make this a very formal bill. Therefore, we can look over the tangible evidence that we have in front of us, and we can say,
yeah,
"Oh, wow, this is real." No matter what you say, no matter what, even the scientific journals that you're going to present to me, that I will read over and look over and present them to my audience. I
yeah,
want to be able to look at this and say, "Wow, that proves God exists." Or
yeah.
the
That's what
universal consciousness. It's just another name, one
yeah.
of the many 25,000 names of God. That's all.
What I'm saying is that if you look up Donald Hoffman, and one of his papers called "The Fusion of Consciousness," you'll see where he's done all of this. He stated his hypothesis, and then goes through his proof and comes through some type of mathematical interpolation of a proof of consciousness residing outside of reality. And then you can look at those papers yourself, and then you
Wait a
can you can make
whoa,
a
whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, wait a minute. Consciousness existing outside of reality?
yes,
How did he prove that?
yeah. Again, because he says that space time. He starts with the preposition that space time is what he says is doomed, coming from other physicists, that it's doomed. He says that if you run the clock back for the Big Bang all the way to the Planck time and the Planck length, that's as far back as you can go, where any of the mathematics for quantum physics is valid. Beyond that, it blows up. Beyond that, it goes away. Can't use it. So no good. No use. So that's the limit. That is the limit. Those are the limits. So I think it's 10 to the minus. I'm going to get these backwards, maybe in reverse. I think it's 10 to the minus 10 to the minus 33 seconds, and 10 to the minus 43 um, meters, I believe.
What is this, a
A mi-
new wave or form of gematria you're telling me here? You're over my head right now. I'm not understanding you right now.
what do you mean, Lamatri? You talking about in terms of the expansion of the
Gematria,
universe?
you're giving me math.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. I'm trying not to make it
Giving me a
mathematical. I'm just
form
saying
of
that
numerology in order to prove
no,
God.
no, no, it's not. It's not numerology. This guy's he's using
It
he's
is.
using math. He's not saying that the 93 billion miles means whatever. No, this guy's a serious scientist. He's a serious scientist. With serious
He's a
mathematicians.
serious scientist, but if he's ever proved something outside of reality, um, he a bad. I have to say this. He's a bad motherfucker, man.
Well, I'm not saying it's
Because
not.
that means
I'm not saying. I'm
he
not saying.
guessing at this point.
Listen. Well, I'm not saying he's not controversial. I'm just saying that he's respected.
Okay,
He's respected amongst his peers, and so he's
all
not
right,
laughed out of these halls and called a pseudo scientist or anything. Nobody is saying that about him.
okay.
And so
Okay.
I'm just saying that
Okay.
I believe that he's on to something. And so for those people,
You
so for
believe that
those of
he's
us,
onto
so
something. He hasn't
yeah,
proven it yet, though, has he?
no,
Hold on.
he's
Stop
on.
right
He's
there. Stop right there. Stop right
right.
there. You believe he's onto something, but he
That's
hasn't
right.
proven it, though, yet, has he?
That's
You
clear. He hasn't
see?
proven, but
Still no
but but,
proof.
but that doesn't mean. But that doesn't that could be just based off of time, based off of timing. Let's not forget that Einstein, his theories weren't proven when he first came out with his equations of general relativity. It took time for that to happen. In fact, some of it is still just being proven now, but it took time for that. So simply because it's a theory on paper doesn't mean that it can't be substantiated later. See what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
I nah, that's
That
the
doesn't make
reason why I'm
sense.
saying it doesn't is
Okay.
Einstein was using a formal process in order to prove his theory correct. I asked a simple question. What formal process has Ron Hoffman used? And you said you
Donald Hoffman.
believe he's onto something, Donald Hoffman, and yet you haven't shown me any formal process in that he's used according to the scientific method to prove a universal consciousness,
No, that's what I'm saying.
right?
I'm saying
If you're
that this
saying,
isn't.
like, are you saying weather patterns? Hold on 1 second, because you're talking real fast, and I got to keep up with you here, right? Are you saying weather patterns are forms of universal consciousness? Well, we that's due to electromagnetic fields
Well, again,
and other things that we
fundamentally,
can prove.
those are good. Those are good questions. So again, I want to defer to what he's saying, right? Because I do agree with it, but I want to put a little bit
Why are
of
you deferring without any evidence? Is what I. That's
wait a
the
minute.
whole point.
Uh, but
Here, I'm gonna come in through my
Chris,
computer right now.
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Chris, you asked me why I'm deferring to him because we're talking about science, right? And he's a scientist. So
That's fine.
I am trying to lend some, and I put this in quotations, gravitas behind what I'm saying. So
Okay.
he's so he's saying that the truth of the matter is that everything that you and me and everybody else sees in reality is a projection from consciousness. And he even says that there just like you said, there have been religions from ancient times. Now he's not talking about Christianity or Islam, any of the Abrahamic religions. He's talking about more of the Near Eastern or Far Eastern religions that have
Of course he is.
have said this for thousands and thousands of years. Um, that is, but his objective is to put some science around this. Again, starting with the premise that space time has a limit. That it's in his words, space time is doomed. And he says those aren't his words; those are the words of physicists. That it's doomed because it can't go
Okay.
beyond a certain area, beyond a certain point.
All right. Mhm. Did he get his formal process from the movie Interstellar?
No, I don't know. I don't think so though. He's been working on this for decades.
Okay. Okay. For decades.
For decades.
Okay. All right, Ron. Hey, Jay, do you have any questions you want to ask Ron here?
Um, Not so much of a question, but just from listening to the brother, um, I don't know if he even knows it, but it almost seems like he's arguing the intelligent design theory. You know what I mean? Where like everything is because of how everything is, and because the Earth was
Yeah.
exactly the amount or the amount of space away from the sun to where it could create a habitable life for organisms. and just like how our DNA sequences and everything with the numbers, it seems like the brother is arguing intelligent design. So would you agree with that, brother Ron? Like, in I guess supporting your creation, or there has to be some type of creator model.
Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily agree with intelligent design on this point. On this point, people who believe in intelligent design, as postulated by the creators of intelligent design, they basically are saying that the God of the Bible is the designer. They say that God intervenes in human affairs and, parts water, raises dead, have all these things, these fantastical things that you guys talk about and ridicule.
Okay.
From my perspective, this universal consciousness has none of those attributes, does none of those types of things. So there's a vast difference. There's a vast difference in it. Is it can it be connected to some type of design? If I say that if you ask me if reality is projected and slash created by consciousness, and I would say yes. But that's about as far as it goes. Is there some type of intervention? Is there some type of localization of a quote unquote God? And the answer is no. And the answer is
So
no. So it is different. It is different on in a pretty big way.
and so I guess my follow up to that would be basically kind of going to what MVP was saying. So where would the proof of that be besides, I guess, this specific, like, are there any other sources that we could go to besides the specific sciences that you were speaking on? That, because right now it just seems like we're kind of just regurgitating one man's specific ideology
Yeah,
or explanation of things, which is, fine. I understand that that's what
yeah,
you came to present, but
yeah.
like,
You can
what is the evidence for this theory essentially?
yeah. Again, the evidence is based off of what this guy is what he's working on. But I would go back to look at even other physicists. You've heard of Erwin Schrodinger. You've heard of Max Planck. You've heard of these guys, right? Back in the in
Yes,
the in the early 1900s, they even
yes.
speculated. They speculated now that fundamentally, at the quantum level, consciousness was a thing that controlled um, uh, everything on the quantum level. That was their speculation. They said it basically the material world had to come from this consciousness. Reality, the material world came from this consciousness. So there was even a speculation, even back in the early 1900s, by the uh, the uh, the physicists, the quantum physicists who actually invented quantum mechanics. But science changed over time to become less what people would call spooky. It became more materialistic, and because of that, especially going into World War II, everybody started talking about, well, we got to use quantum physics, nuclear physics, quantum physics to win this war. So it became more about um, reductionist as opposed to immaterial thought and idea. That a lot of that stuff was pushed to the side. A lot of those ideas that Schrodinger and Max Planck had to the side. You can go back and read some of their work about consciousness. They'll they'll tell you in their works that consciousness was foundational versus the reality that we see. So this isn't totally a new idea. And some people say, "Oh well, it's just the idea of panpsychism, talking about this universal consciousness." But again, panpsychism is different in that panpsychism takes the approach that reality is what it is, and the consciousness basically comes out of the reality. In other words, it's emergent.
No,
Whereas,
I'm familiar with that. I understand that.
yeah, whereas,
So,
no,
oh,
go ahead.
sorry,
I'm sorry.
sorry.
Go
No,
ahead.
please,
No,
no, please finish your point, brother. I ain't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. Whereas my approach has been that consciousness comes first, then reality comes second, which is why I'm very interested in what Planck and Schrodinger wrote, and what Hoffman is trying to prove from a scientific perspective.
Okay. So, what? what is your definition of God then? And in this theory that you're presenting to us, is the God that you're speaking of, which just seems like it minimalistically, just the reason for our existence as far as developments in our solar system, universes beyond, and then is that God responsible for consciousness? That would be my second question.
Yeah. So that's a great question. This Let's start with the idea of consciousness, because I don't equate consciousness, this universal consciousness, with God
Okay.
definitionally, because if you- God has a definition, and if you look in Webster or any dictionary text, it has a definition, and this consciousness doesn't have that definition of being a deity, of intervening in the lives and anything like that. But this consciousness, as I said before, does a projection. It does a projection of reality. It is foundationally what produces everything that we see here. Now, maybe a great question would be, I think you're kind of intimating this question: why? Right? Why? Why would this consciousness be doing that? And I I I I can only surmise. This is me talking now. I can only surmise is that this consciousness that's what it does. It wants to experience things, and experiences things by uh, giving us awareness, giving consciousness to everything. But
So
that's just me. That's just my speculation now. It's
now,
not that I.
can you at least reason with my skepticism with that? Because
Sure.
there's a parallel, even if you yourself don't identify as being religious. The parallel with this, with a lot of the religious topics that we discuss, especially on here, is that we seem to always give these deities, whether they're responsible for consciousness or not, these human, very, very
Yeah.
human traits and
Yeah.
characteristics.
Attributes. Sure.
So why is this potentially all powerful being or all powerful entity, however it would be more appropriate to describe it, so human like? Why would that be? I don't
Yeah.
understand that, especially
Yeah.
something that would,
The-
in essence, be extraterrestrial and foreign to us in
no.
every way, shape, and form. Why would it act like us? Why is it
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great
intrigued by things?
question. I think. I
I don't
think.
understand that.
I think it. Now I'm crossing back over. I'm crossing back over into evolutionary science. I think that's because of we humans. We have that. We have that trait to make everything anthropomorphic, right? We have
Sure.
that trait. It's not that the consciousness cares about this. It's me. That's why I'm saying that this is what I believe.
Sure.
I can't say that that's actually true or not true. Um, and and I'm probably wrong. I mean, to be honest, I am 99% sure that I'm wrong. That's what I speculate. And so this consciousness, this universal consciousness, could probably care less, right? It's just what it
I would
does.
I would surmise so. Now that's kind of where I was having a little bit of, not even necessarily like a disagreement, but just a disconnect,
Sure,
because we are, at least MVP, and just me secondarily, looking for some type of proof, some type of evidence.
sure, sure.
So while I do appreciate your different view and take on things, and it has been mighty interesting and entertaining, uh for you to say basically I'm 99% sure I'm wrong is like, you know what I mean? It's like, well, okay, like what did we just do this for?
No, 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 no. I'm saying I'm 99%. I'm saying I'm 99% wrong about the nature of this consciousness. I'm not saying that the
Sure.
consciousness doesn't exist. This universal consciousness doesn't exist because I believe that I'm right on that. But the nature of it, is what I'm saying I could be wrong about.
Okay, which I do understand that, and that I guess kind of leads me, and I don't want to go in circles with you, brother, but that leads me
Sure.
back to kind of the proof of it. Is the proof of this just being the completion of, say, one scientist's life work in trying to figure this out? Like, where is your evidence, um you know removed
Yeah.
from there specifically? Like, what
Hmm.
I guess spin or what take on it do you
Yeah.
have that lends itself to be a proof for you?
Yes. Very, very, very good question. That's why I kind of started the conversation with Chris talking about inferences. The inferences. I don't know if you heard that part of the conversation.
Yeah, yeah, I was here.
That
I was here.
that um, processes are developed from the mind, from our consciousness. And if you see all these processes all over the planet, start with just the Earth, all these processes all over the planet, um, that humans endeavor in, coming from a mind, and then you look at that even things in nature, like the growth of a tree starting with an acorn, somebody had to plant that acorn. All those things coming from the mind of somebody, those processes, then inferential. If the universe is expanding as we know through the red shift and observation of galaxies moving away from us at tremendous speeds, right? If you rewind that all the way back to its beginning point, then the most obvious question becomes is how did it get started? Where did it all come from? Right? It's the most obvious question.
Okay, so and to what you were saying earlier, yes, I was here and I did hear that, and
Hmm.
that's what brought MVP to, like, the God of the gap fallacy, where we're just asking why, and because we don't have an answer to the question, oh well, it must be, that ends
And
up being the answer, or especially if we're
well,
inferring, because
well, that's
inferring implies that we have information, but we're still trying to come to the most likely conclusion. Like, you
right.
don't necessarily
Correct.
infer when you have all the information. Am I
Correct.
am I making sense with that?
Yeah, yeah, you are. But
So
inference is a
that's kind
yeah.
of where I see the kind of issue with that, because we're there is when I'm listening to what you're saying, it's more of like, okay, well, when I hear that, it just makes me think, okay, that doesn't necessarily prove consciousness. It's just more observation that these things are
Yeah,
alive
yeah.
now,
I agree. Doesn't
which
prove
is
it.
fine, but and nobody is disputing that. Nobody can dispute that. I
Right.
guess, is there a better way in your mind of providing tangible evidence as far as there being some level of consciousness in the universe besides things living? Because that,
Yeah,
I don't
and
see
that's why.
how, like, it's almost like
Yeah,
you would have to want that to be the case to
yeah,
just draw
yeah,
that linear conclusion. You
yeah.
know what I mean?
I agree. And you're making some very very good points. That's why I started with inference, right, and then I moved to science. At least at least the science that's being done today through Hoffman and
Sure,
others.
sure.
I moved to science, and that science, I readily admit, is still underway. It hasn't proven it. It hasn't proven that this consciousness, this consciousness that resides that is theorized to reside outside of reality, uh, exists, except on paper, except mathematically. And that's why I'm saying if you go read Hoffman's paper, especially the one called "Fusion of Consciousness," it's free. It's online. You can read it. Um, and the math is not too difficult to understand,
Okay.
but it talks about it's really math of probabilities and permutations, combinations, those types of things. If you go and look at that, then that's the route that he's taking to try to get to this this proof, if you will, mathematical proof of the existence of this consciousness residing out. And he's coming up with these geometrical shapes and forms that he says projects into reality, which gives him an indication, a clue that this is the things that he's theorizing about um, can be true. And like I said, this guy, he's not a guy that's being laughed out of lecture halls and things like that. He's a guy that's he's a pretty heavy guy, and he's taken serious by his peers.
See,
So
so
it goes from observation, from inferential observation to science, albeit not being proven yet, right? Not being proven. But that was my point to Chris, is that in the beginning of mathematical postulates, Einstein's theories weren't proven readily, right? Other scientists, Higgs boson, they weren't proven readily, not until we built these huge colliders, because somebody proved that the Higgs particle existed.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Those are false equivalencies, because
Why?
those processes went through a formal process. The universal consciousness is a metaphysical concept in philosophy. That's what it is. I'm reading it right here. I will do some deeper research on it, and I'll even present it on here. But this is metaphysical. Therefore, it's not tangible. It's a philosophy. It's metaphysical. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do understand. I understand what you're saying, but I would respectfully ask you to read Hoffman's stuff and look at his presentations on YouTube. Some are short, some are extremely long. But I would respectfully ask that you read his papers and look at his presentations to get a better understanding, because I am sure that I'm not doing it justice.
Okay, well, family, we're gonna get ready to shut this thing on down. We're gonna thank the brother Ron for coming by and not proving that a God exists,
Yeah,
not proving that the universal consciousness exists.
not yet. You should say
He-
yes.
yeah, Ron Perkins, he can definitely speak. We will give him that very, very articulate. You know,
You should say yes.
this was fun. You got my
Yeah, it
man
was. Well, I
Jay
appreciate it.
Menace in the
Appreciate the
building.
opportunity.
No, man, I appreciate you, man, for coming by, man. Thank you very much. Don't be a stranger. Stop by anytime.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay. So, guys, once again, no proof at all. My goodness, no proof.
Maybe we should put up the ante and like put a dollar value out there and make people start working really hard to try to come up with a proof.
Yeah. I tell you what, they're Hebrews. They believe they curse. I bet you $15 on your cash app that you can't prove that it exists.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't. I think trying to prove localized gods would be an impossibility. But anyway, we'll see. All right, guys. Thank you.
Okay, brother. Thank you.
You guys take care. Have a great.
All right,
great
guys,
evening.
hit that like button. Let everybody know that I was live, that I am live. Shout out to Jay Menace for stopping by today. Jay Menace, I'm gonna let you go ahead and close it on out.
yes, sir. Hey, thank you again so much for having me on MVP. Thank you to the brother Ron, the other brother that was on earlier. We was chopping it up with. It's always a pleasure. And as we go into 2025, I just want everybody to continue to stay safe, stay observant, continue to learn, and most importantly, I love y'all. Can't wait to hear some more, and best of luck and best of wishes to everybody going into 2025. Man, let's be safe and have a ball with it.
Peace.